Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15. We're going to jump right into 2 weeks of gardening updates. We're seeing the growth that the floppy petunia have put on, especially after I have unstaked them to just let them be free to do what they want to do. And we're asking ourselves, how did we get here with all of these containers? And today I'm also going to show you how I created this particular container. So a couple weeks ago, I resumed planting some containers. This is a thrifted one that is a very thick, nice clay pot. However, it is awkwardly shaped and has no drainage. And counterintuitively, I decided to try to save one of my floppy petunias by putting it in another bad situation. I put that aside to let it grow. As well, I potted up some of those zinnias that I started in the windowsill of my home. And there were actually 5 total of these that you will see. And also, I've had quite a few good plastic containers just around the house that I decided to use back here in the garden. And we see that there was a mishap with one. It had flooded that morning, and I thought I would pour some of that water off and ended up dumping the whole arrangement onto the ground. And this happened before work. So I just had to sort of put it together, protect the roots, and I ended up coming back home and working on it that evening. So things started out well and nice and neat with me washing everything off and trying to salvage all the parts that I could. But somehow I still ended up with a mess on my hands, and my whole mission was just putting it back together as best as I could. And I washed my hands off and called it an evening. But my heart felt good that I had it back on track. So at the outside gig, we have some containers. And of course, I've brought some of those clippings home. We've had storms, but I'm noticing that none of my candles moved, even though some mulch and a lot of soil moved and a lot of branches moved. But those candles stayed in place. And as well, I had ordered some stain to have on hand to complete the job that I've been promising for a while now. And now that we have sunnier days, I think I will tackle that. And so we have a couple containers that this looks like the dome of a cake, but it's so heavy and sturdy and deep that I said, hey, I'm going to put that gumfrina in it and let it catch up with the other gumfrina and put on some growth until I figure out what I'm going to do with this. But I couldn't stop right there. Of course, I had to underplant it with ivy, the creeping Jenny, and of course the burgundy glow and sugar. And I also messed around and bought some more cheap pots in the meanwhile. They blend in nicely with everything else that's going on, and who could not use another planter in the garden? And so, as well, of course, we've been waiting on the bloom of the phlox, or the blooming of the phlox, and it finally happened. Just this Thursday, I got my first bloom, and by the next day, that little bunch of firework blooms happened overnight, and the color is surprising to me. It is more purple and less pink than I remember and blends in beautifully with the underplantings. And that wasn't the only thing that bloomed. Finally, the verbena is putting on blooms. And here is that ivy I have been saving, attempting to just root in some water. But of course, I couldn't wait. I ended up putting it in another planter. And this is a look at one of the first containers we did that has no drainage. And as we can see, it's doing well. And then this is one of my favorite up pottings. I'm potting up again the plumbagos. And they are being parked in those temporary containers as well. And my idea was that I would just use the ivy that I got from work. But of course, I couldn't leave it there. I had to put in not only the ivy from work, but some burgundy glow ajuga and some creeping jenny. And so now I'm making a birthday run to get some gas. Okay, I'm kidding. I did not go to the gas station. I'm actually embarrassed now that every time I show my drive to my favorite place on earth at the time, that I see my gas needs to be filled up and my priorities are definitely out of order. Here I am picking out plants and taking in all the beauty at my favorite nursery, which is Quality Landscape and Garden, and they never miss. They always have pallets of blooms and little shrubs at every interval of growth. And guess what I found? I found my favorite flower of all time. This is a moss rose. And this is my asparagus fern that was actually on my short list of things to get. And I'm parking it over here in the chair. And I found some more impatiens. These are the ones I probably wish I had put under the white crepe myrtle because they will grow a little faster and bushier than the compact ones that I have. So here I am looking at a container I have brought home from work that is holding a Monstera deliciosa as well as some Tradescantia. Now, this pot looks a little rough, and I was finally able to get that planter out or that little pot out. And I'm lining this just for peace of mind. I don't want it to further deteriorate in the inside. And I'm deciding to put one of the impatiens in this pot. And because I've been so impatient, I actually ended up changing my mind. I'm preparing this container and beginning to again second guess my decision. I want to keep those impatiens as a pair. So instead, I've put in a lantana, a lavender lantana, and of course, 3 little sprigs of burgundy glow ajuga. And I walked that impatient back over to the place I had parked it. And I came back and added some creeping jenny. Now, I have another one of these that I'm going to pot up in my frog container. Voila. This is the result. And again, I'm very pleased. I'm trying to switch it up a little bit. Some things are remaining consistent, and I'm also considering ways to add a little more color in the backspace. I'm continuing to water those zinnias, and hopefully they will bloom pretty soon. And I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Find me on Instagram at Madam Savard Garden. And if you're able to give me a genuine like, please like this video. It is most appreciated. So until the next time, bye-bye.